Hello, everybody, and welcome to our Q&A session here this evening. Wow, dragging up the past, wasn't that amazing? So you don't want to go anywhere. What you want to do is you want to fill up your refreshments, get ready because we have an amazing panel of movie stars from the documentary, The Queen Extraordinaires, and we have some celebrity and industry guests for you here tonight. We have Daniel LaRue's makeup and wig stylist joining us from London. And we have the Queen of Ireland herself, Miss Panti Bliss. So without further ado, I just would like to say well done to the MTU LGBT Society. They have created a fabulous and really important piece of work this evening. And we wanted to say thank you and congratulations, especially to the co-directors, Conrad M. and to Robin Guiton. Well done, guys. Hello, my name is Sarah Morey, and I'm the Arts Officer here at Munster Technological University, Ireland's newest university, a dynamic and exciting place for you to come, serving the Southwest region. So more on that later. What I'd like to say is actually hello to everybody from all over the world, London, Canada, Tokyo. We have Paris and Ballincollig. So I think we're well represented. So the Arts Office here at NTU is absolutely delighted to have funded this project. The arts are a wonderful platform for celebrating stories of inclusion, diversity, and equality. And we have a message from our co-founders this evening, who I'm going to read out for you right now. And it's from Chambers. Chambers are delighted and honoured to have supported this amazing documentary, which highlights the fabulous, rich legacy of Cork drag. We must never forget that drag has always been at the front lines of activism for the LGBT community. Drag will always be political in nature because the art of drag is in itself a form of political protest. It challenges societal norms of what gender is understood to be, and it explores and embraces this fluidity. Now, one of the resident trios, Mio Gold, Letycha and Nettles, as well as many other drag guests' appearance, that form the heart and soul of Chambers. So we are absolutely delighted to welcome them later. And I know the Chambers are delighted to open their doors. They can't wait for you to dust off your feather boas and to light up the stage again. Now, tonight we've arranged two fabulous panels made up of drag queens and drag enthusiasts, which I will tell you a little bit more about as I'm introducing them. But I'd like to remind you that this evening, we're hoping to use this premiere event to raise money for the Gay Project. The Gay Project is a Cork organisation whose mission is to ensure that gay, bisexual, MSM, trans and queer men are enabled to participate fully in Ireland's social, economic, cultural, political and artistic life. And the Gay Project were also behind the initial conception of Dragging Up the Past in collaboration with the MTU Cork LGBT Society. Now, I'm delighted to see on screen my colleague and Societies Officer, Aoife Kelleher, who will be joining us this evening for the Q&A, and she'll be feeding directly in from the audience. I'll hand it over to you, Aoife. Hi, Aoife.
Thank you, Sarah. So I'm delighted to support the LGBT Society in MTU and societies and colleges throughout Ireland. They're so important. So if you get any opportunity, I'd ask you, make sure you support your previous college or one that's in your area, any of their events that they might be running, because it's really important to them when people turn up and support them. So I'll be looking after the Q&A this evening, and I can't wait to see the questions because we've got some fantastic comments already coming through, many of support, but also we want to find a little bit more about it. Let's get behind the scenes and see if we can get a bit more information out. You can submit your questions through the Q&A, which is usually just at the bottom of your screen. So be sure to start the question with the name of the person specifically that you would like to ask it for. And if you want to let us know a little bit about yourself, perhaps your name and where you're tuning in from, that'd be great also. We're on a time limit, but we'll try and get through as many questions as we can. And we hope that this will be an insightful and fun part of the documentary and explore a little bit more about what we're after seeing.
Great, thank you, Aoife. So let's kick off our first panel. So we're delighted to welcome one of tonight's documentary's writers, directors, editor, and pure genius, Robert Guiton.
Hey guys, how are you? Good to see you.
Good to see you and welcome. And
Thank you.
And next up, we have the alternative Miss Cork 2002, Fabula Beaumarchais. Hello, Fabula. Great. And next up is 2007 winner of the alternative Miss Cork, Kitty Cartier. Hi, Kitty. You look gorgeous. I love your background. Good stuff. And joining us is RuPaul Riders Ring Masters Drag Race winner 2017, Letycha Lesin.
Hello, guys.
Hi, Letycha. At last, but certainly not least, Portuguese princess, Miss Dragon's Den 2017, Miss Mia Gold.
Hi, everybody.
Woo!
Mia.
Beautiful.
Gorgeous. Thank you, everybody, for joining us this evening. Wow.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
It's been a long wait. COVID put a pause on our original launch, and here we are in this virtual world, connected, fabulous colour and celebration. I'm just going to go round. Congratulations, Robin, on all your work. What was it like to finally see this tonight all together in one piece?
It was honestly fantastic. I've been working on this with Conrad and with the LGBT Society there for the past, I'd say 14 months nearly. And it's always been kind of one of those projects that's been in the back of my mind, and it's been so ongoing, and we even had delays because of the coronavirus pandemic. And so it's always something that I've always had to come back to periodically over the last year and a bit. And to actually just now sit down finally and just see it all in one place, and even the memories from even producing it and filming it, it's honestly just such, not just a relief, but like just such just a lovely evening, and like I don't know, I'm incredibly happy to have been involved, and I'm excited that everyone got to see this with us.
Great, well done, Robin. It's a really wonderful piece.
Oh, cheers,
I
thank
think
you.
we're giving a virtual round of applause. Ladies, you want it.
I have an Instagram there, just if you need followers, you know, I'm only starved for attention.
Great, so check that out, guys, and Robin has all his details up on screen that will be there throughout the Q&A. Thank you, Robin.
Thank you.
So just before we start, there's a question coming in. We will just do a quick around the house. What does drag mean to you? What is drag? And I'm going to start, I'm going to throw that out to Fabula. Fabula, what is drag? What does it mean to you?
I don't know what drag is. I'm a 41-year-old stepmother. What the hell are you talking about?
Oh, that seems perfectly right. Seems like the perfect answer for the drag question.
You would think.
Well, I would think.
Drag to me is glamour and entertainment and escapism and all of those wonderful things that I think everybody in our own way throughout the documentary touched on. It's everything.
Gorgeous. Thank you, Fabula. Letycha, the same question to you.
Drag to me, I suppose, it's, as I said in the documentary, it's self-expression. It is whatever you want it to be. You name it, drag is it. As long as you're happy and comfortable doing it, then that's the most important thing. Well, comfortable is a broad spectrum, because all these ladies know that it's not comfortable.
I'm not comfortable.
You know what I mean.
Good. Thank you, Letycha. And Kitty, if you were to give a line to people who are watching this evening, they're wondering, what is drag? Is it just, can anybody do drag? So what is a drag queen?
Not everybody can do drag. People can try to do drag, but not everybody should do drag. For me, drag is a sense of the opportunity to do this. Expression and joy is what comes to mind when I think of drag.
Thank you, Kitty. Mia, have you in talks with that?
Yeah, like it's everybody said the right thing. I think drag is freedom to be whatever we want to be and with no limits.
Good. Thank you, Mia. And we have a question here, Kitty.
Yes.
This is for Kitty, from Miss Kitty Cartier. So you were one of the principal performers at the famous Madame Jojo's Cabaret in London, Soho, before coming to Cork. How lucky are we? So we just wanted, the question here is, why did you move to Cork? And when you did first arrive, how did drag scene in Cork compare to that in London?
Well, the reason why I left London in the first place is because everybody knows I was involved in the scandal. There was the court case, you know. So I took the hush money on the understanding that I left the country never to return. The reason why I chose Cork, well, the world was my ostrich, as they say. I opened the atlas and I was thinking, where shall I go? Where shall I go? And there was one place, one name of one town that I thought, I must go there, because it intrigued me and repulsed me at the same time. And I thought, it's my destiny. And the name of that place, Ringaskiddy. Ringaskiddy in Cork. It just called my name. So I arrived, I got off the boat, and the first thing that any queen does when she arrives in new territory is to say, excuse me, where are my sisters? Well, this lovely person pointed me in the direction of a rather grim-looking building near to a church. I knocked on the door and a little slide opened. These eyes stared at me and they said, hello. I said, hello, are the sisters there? She said, are you here to take orders? I thought she was offering me a job in a pub. So I said, I'll give it a go. So I went in and I signed up. And well, can I just say I was very, very, very disappointed. I mean, monochrome is a look, but every day, black and white, it was just awful. There was no makeup, there was no glamour, there was no camp, there was no glitter. And worst of all, I had to wear flats, sensible flat shoes. Well, I can tell you this was intolerable. But salvation came when one day Mother Superior called me to her office. She told me that she'd heard of a recently widowed captain who had a slew of children and was looking for a governess. Would I like the job? Well, you didn't have to ask me twice. I picked up my guitar in one hand, my confidence in the other. I climbed the mountain, I forged the stream, I followed every rainbow.
Kitty?
Yes, my dear. Yes, Fabula, I hear you.
I don't think that was you, dear. I think that was the sound of music. Shh, shh.
The sound of who?
Music.
No, that was me. That was me. And if there was a musical based, it's because I was the inspiration for it, and that's the absolute truth. Trust me, I'm a drag queen.
Thank you, Kitty. That is such a wonderful story. I've never heard a story like that before. Thank you, Kitty.
Never will again.
No, and never will again. Thank you. And I hope that it worked out well for you.
So far, so good.
So far, so good. Thank you. And the next question we have is, Fabula, what does Old Money Sundays Well mean?
It's a character choice. I don't know if anybody has noticed, but nowadays, when you ask a drag queen where she comes from, 15,000% of us come from somewhere called New York City, and you have to shout it. You have to shout, New York City! So I thought, but I'm not in New York now. Where am I from? And when I was establishing the character of Fabula, I was thinking about, you know, all of the women that really inspired me. And I'm thinking the Phyllis Nefflers, and I'm thinking the Patsy Stones, and I'm thinking the Madeline Ashtons. And they all came from places like Bel Air and Knightsbridge. So I thought, let me pick the Cork equivalent. Old Money, baby.
Old Money. Thank you. That's giving us an extra edge for there. Mia, a question for you that has just come in. I've heard that you do a lot of awareness raising campaigns through your social media, which is an absolutely unbelievable following. And you also talk a lot about your own experiences, and you're very open and sharing about that, and you've started some prep work. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the campaigns that you're involved with, and maybe why it's important to use your social media platform in that way?
Yeah, thank you for the question. Yeah, I do. I did start prep a few months ago. As the gay community, I think it's very important to share the knowledge or share the information that you know about. And I did a few events. Conrad asked me for to do the World AIDS campaign for a sexual health center in Cork. So I did that. Very, very happy with it. I just think it's very important just to put your message out there, share your story, even if you have small following or big following. It's just important for us as gay community to not as gay community, but everybody in general to just get tested and know your status. And even if it's not what you're expecting, there's thousands of medication and thousands of vaccines for it, and always a solution for your problems. You know, it's not like a thing anymore like in the 1980s or 1990s. It's okay now. It's okay. Like there's solutions for everything, you know.
Okay, thank you, Mia. And as we'll have all the details at the end here of the Q&A as well, if people want to check out or they want to follow you guys, and it's great to be, have that opportunity to put that out there. Next up, I just wanted to say, Letycha Lissin, we've had a wonderful opportunity recently where we were on TG Kelleher, Nuacht, August RTE Nuacht, and Mia Gold, and we were a Kaintas Gaelga, taught to fluent to Ginigi, as you said to me yourself. Now, I feel we've got quite a close relationship, we know each other quite well, after those 4 minutes together. So I'm wondering, would it be appropriate, honest talk, is there any rivalry or competition among the Queens in Cork?
Oh, no, to be honest, there really isn't. Funny story, I suppose, when myself and Mia both started in Chambers many moons ago, there was an unspoken rivalry because I thought she was a bitch and she thought I was a bitch. And truth be told, we're both bitches. I'm the bigger one, she's the smaller one. But over the years, they're really like, we laugh at it now because like we've both grown up an awful lot since then. We're talking 6 years ago, thereabouts. And it was something really stupid and petty because we didn't take the time to actually get to know each other really well. And now we're practically inseparable. So is there rivalry between Queens? I think the audience would love us to say yes, there is, because that's what's expected. But in all reality, not at all. We're big, goofy kids, the whole lot of us combined together. And the more of us together, the goofier we get.
Right. So it's a good supportive community is what you're saying.
Yeah.
That's good fun. Yeah. I think appropriate level of mocking and good healthy fun.
Yeah, exactly. I'm obviously the one that does the most mocking bar Fabula, but it's always appropriate levels.
At appropriate levels. That's good. Thank you, Letycha. And I know we'll be heading over to Eve because questions are coming in, but I'm just going to, Robin, a question for you perhaps. Having seen the documentary tonight, did you get a sense that this is it? Or did you say, is there more to tell? Can you talk a little bit about how are you feeling?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when the project was first brought to me there about, I'd say, a year and a half ago, I remember speaking with Conrad, who would be the co-director and the producer of this, and I really wish like we could see him here today because he has been such a driving force for this project, and this wouldn't be happening. None of us would be here tonight if it wasn't for Conrad. But so when he brought that to me, like professionally, I work within video production, and my goal is always to get people to make their video as short as possible. It's like you need to get your message across, you need to get the people to watch it, and you need to get them to understand this within the shortest amount of time. So I said to Conrad, like, this needs to be 15, 20 minutes long. I sent him a text about 2 months ago being like, okay, this is going to be about an hour long. And because there was just so much in it. And even from where we are now and from what we saw tonight, the amount of footage and the amount of anecdotes and stories. I mean, Kitty and Fabula could get their own spin-off as far as I'm concerned. There's just so much that we had to cut out of this. And it breaks my heart. But I guess as a cohesive story, we have what we have. But I'm dying to revisit this project or even see where someone else might bring this project in the future and just to get more of those stories and anecdotes out there. But as a project as a whole, I'm proud that we captured a little bit of a zeitgeist or a little bit of a moment within the scene in Cork and maybe brought a bit of the history to the forefront as well.
Thank you, Robin. And thank
no problem.
Thank you. And thank you to all the stars of the documentary who have been so generous with your time and being so vibrant and flamboyant, telling your stories to us to connect with many audiences. And I'm sure that the Q&A is hopping and that Aoife I'm going to bring Aoife in to maybe ask some more questions from the Q&A. Aoife, how is that coming along? Are you good to go?
Yeah, absolutely, Sarah. Yeah, it is hopping indeed. So I'll try and capture as much of it as I possibly can. Overwhelmingly, there is just a huge positive response to the documentary and to all of your involvement in it. There's a real feeling of warmth there from the audience that have watched it. So well done to all of you. It's fantastic to see it come true. So there's a few ones in particular, Kitty and Fabula, there's ones in particular for you. Kitty, people are saying that they're wondering who inspires you. If you'd like to answer that first, if you'd like to mention it.
Inspiration came for me in, I remember on Sunday afternoons when it was raining, watching those lovely, wonderful black and white Hollywood movies, and people like Sid Charisse, and it was all so elegant and marvelous and well dressed, and I thought, I want to be that. So I've always thought old Hollywood glamour, and anybody who has a sharp sense of humor as well always is my inspiration, but it can come from anywhere, really.
Fantastic. And Fabula, are you on social media? And because they would like to see full costumes. Everybody's admiring the glamour here this evening, and everybody wants to get more of a look. So what they're wondering is, are you on social media, and will there be posts?
I am old enough, and hopefully some people among the 500 are old enough to remember the Kelleher Gas Housewife of the Year, or the front row on a Monday's Live at 3. This is my tribute there too.
Yeah.
I have a very limited social media presence because Kitty and I talked a little bit about this in the documentary. I don't like social media. I don't think that it's a particularly good place for my mental health personally. I do have a Facebook profile, which is updated incredibly sporadically. I'm more about live performance, I would say. So follow me on Facebook. Absolutely. Hit me up. Details of live performances, once the plague is finished, will be posted there.
And Fabula, you'll have to tell us, what does old money Sundays well mean?
So, as I said before, it's a character choice. It's not about being from New York City. It's about being the Cork equivalent thereof. I mean, similar to what Kitty was saying about who inspired her, I think about just the soup, the ingredients in the soup of Fabula, and Kitty's going to kill me for that one later, and trying to identify that woman and where she's from and what she does and how she does it. And yeah, that's kind of where it came from. It's been with me for some time.
Mia, people are admiring your costumes and your wardrobe. I think it's a real insight into people's backgrounds and homes. So that's some of the comments that are coming through. And somebody wants to know, when you're opening up a nightclub, they're looking to go there. They want to party with you.
Absolutely. I don't know when it's going to be, but maybe if I won the Euro Millions sometime soon. But I don't know, maybe in the future, but keep you updated.
I'll go halves with you, Mia.
Great, you'll be a investor.
And Letycha, we have a comment in from Will Oblige about supporting the local drag stars post-pandemic and the importance of that. And then interestingly, we had a comment from Sean. He was asking about the importance of gay venues and should there be more?
This has always been kind of a controversial one over the last couple of years, because since the introduction of equality, people have argued that we don't need gay venues, that we should be accepted everywhere. And yes, that is certainly true. But I personally think that a LGBTQ plus venue is of the utmost importance. I think it's somewhere where we all can feel safe. Even if you can feel safe in the pub next door, it's something for, I think, particularly the younger generations, that they always need that little bit more reassurance. I think as we get older, we have all our own defense mechanisms to deal with people and deal with certain opinions that we may not agree with. So yes, I do think that they're still vital to any LGBTQ plus scene.
You don't necessarily think there should be more of them, but having them
well, yes, there should definitely be more of them, but I think it would be great if the scene actually supported itself more than it does at the moment, because there's no point opening more venues when they don't support the venues that we already have.
And Letycha also was wondering about superstars for a baby queen or king. Do you have any tips for costumes and for looks?
I suppose Mia is really the costume queen out of the whole lot of us, but know your body, I think, is probably the best thing. Try different shapes to figure out what your body is, but try everything and then work on what works really well on you.
Thanks, Letycha. Mia, would you like to add to that?
What was the question?
for baby queens and kings, particularly in the documentary, they spoke of your talent with costumes and design. Is there any tips you'd like to share there?
Yeah, like I started just doing like I bought a machine and started playing with it, basically like a new toy. So it just be adventurous, and like if you want to do that, just start with something simple and then just involve and learn. You know, watch loads of YouTube videos. There's thousands and thousands of videos that you can learn basically anything now on YouTube. You know, just do it.
Just try it.
Just try it. That's it.
And Robin, if I could ask you just a final question that we have from the Q&A, would be about the documentary and its availability after. People are asking, can they purchase it? Can they view it again? They'd like to recommend it to people. Are there plans for it?
Yeah, 100%. I think that's kind of where we are sitting with it now. We've been having a lot of discussion on what to do with it. I mean, maybe it's not something that I've discussed with my co-creators on this, but I'd love for this just to be a free resource for people to come and view whenever they want. I think what we would like to do now is to maybe finesse it and refine it more to like a film festival cut, because it would be nice to get it circulated around, not just nationally but internationally. But I would say let's just not forget that this documentary exists, but let's just not expect anything immediately available online, but it's going to be there, and we want to get this out to as many people as possible because I think it's important. And again, just to reiterate how proud I am to have been involved and been chosen to work on this documentary with.
You have to know that Robin's going to be busy doing the spin-off with Fabula and myself.
Up there.
Oh, we're running away together. Me and Fabula actually have gotten engaged.
Robin, I
You've been
can't
engaged,
run.
we got divorced.
Don't know who told you I could. I can't run. If I trip, the tide goes out. There's lunar activity. It's not a good look.
Look, I feel like with the haircut you're sporting tonight, you're going to speak to the manager or something, and I don't want to get involved in that. So I'm going to tag out of this one just so I don't dig a hole any further. Love you.
Love you too. I'm here to manage my stepchildren. Shut up!
I mean, I live on Sunday as well. I live on Sunday as well, so I think we can make the connection, you know.
I thought you looked familiar.
Look, it's all.
I'll just remind people about the Dragging Up the Past hashtag, that I suppose then part of that is sharing tonight and amplifying it and letting people know about the documentary is really important. So hashtag Dragging Up the Past on any of the social media.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Aoife. Just want to say thank you, everybody, for being involved in this project. It's such an important project. And I think it's taking out from what Robin said, that this is going to be a resource for people that they can access. And it's a celebration of the history of drag in Cork. And it's just a wonderful piece of work. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you for being involved with this. Thank you for making this so that it's a reference point for future generations and for the newbies and the not so newbies to look back on and remember. So I just want to say with that, I think we'd like to thank you so much for being here this evening. It's you put in a magnificent effort. You look absolutely fabulous. And Robin is showing us there to check him out and to take down all his details. And thank you so much, because it is clear that you have at least spent 5 minutes getting ready this evening.
At least
5 minutes. It's really clear.
Thank you.
So just want to say thank you so much, everybody. Give it up for Robin Guiton. Thank you, Robin. Thank you. And for Letycha Lesin. Thank you, Letycha.
Thank you very much.
For Mia Gold.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Mia. And to say for the lovely and beautiful gold, Kitty Cartier.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Kitty. And last but not least, we would like to say thank you to Fabula de Beaumarchais.
You're very welcome.
Au revoir, Fabula.
Bye.
Bye, Fabula, and thank you. Thank you so much. So there we have it, our first panel this evening, and we are now delighted to welcome our second panel. I think they're appearing virtually on screen from all the different areas. So first up, we have DJ and club promoter and former director of the Alternative Miss Cork, DJ Eddie Kay.
Hi Sarah, how's it going? Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Eddie. Good to see you.
You too. Virtually and all that.
I know. Is that? we'll connect in there. And next up, another star from the documentary. It's the fabulous Candy Warhol. Ladies and gentlemen, Candy Warhol from House
Hi, Sarah.
Hello, Candy, the creator for the House of Maquia and from Comedy Central State. Delighted to have you here this evening.
Thank you. Thank you for the booking, Sarah. I appreciate it.
Great. We had a lot of difficulty actually getting through to you, and we're really we're delighted
Thank
you
you.
turned up.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I do what I
Okay.
can.
Good. We paid a good fee. We're happy with that. Are you happy?
Oh, I'm happy. The 10 euro is going to go a long way tomorrow. The kids are going to be happy with their dinner. Thank you.
Great. That's great. We like to get them. And now we're absolutely delighted to go to our London studio. Hello. We're delighted to welcome West End hair and makeup legend. He's worked with all the biggest stars and he was a close friend with Daniel LaRue. We're delighted this evening to have Richard Mawbey join us.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you, London. We can hear you,
Good,
Richard.
good, good. Well, I'm thrilled to be part of this. It's fantastic.
You're so welcome. How's the weather in London, Richard?
-2 tonight.
That's better than last week.
That's right, yeah.
So things are improving.
But I'm warm indoors with my memories and all of you.
Thank you. And finally, but not least, we're absolutely delighted to be blessed with the presence of the Queen of Ireland from her Dublin 1 studio. Accidental. I just give it up for Panti, Bliss.
Yes.
Hello, Panti.
Hi, how's everyone?
You're doing good.
Hi,
How are you
Morey.
doing?
I'm doing good, yeah. I'm alone with my gin and Zoom.
Right, that's wonderful. So look, guys, thank you all so much for joining us this evening and for watching the documentary. I hope you enjoyed it.
Brilliant, brilliant. And well done, honestly, to everybody that was involved. The quality of it was just fantastic.
Yes, it was very, very charming. It made me fall in love with Cork drag all over again. But I will just say, Eddie K, don't ruin my moment.
Thank you.
I promise, Rory, Panti. I can't promise anything though.
Well, look, Morey, it just seems, I suppose, just to move on from that, it just seems appropriate, Eddie, that we're going to ask you a question. Do you think that the documentary captured the essence of the history of drag in Cork?
Who are you asking that question to?
I'm asking that question to Mr. Eddie K.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Do I think it captured the essence? Yeah, I suppose. Like, first of all, I was surprised that when I first saw how long it was going to be, I was a bit concerned it might be a bit too long, but it actually kept me engaged. And again, well done to everyone involved. Do I think it's basically captured the essence? It's hard to say that because I suppose, you know, the footage first of all made me feel very old because it was also like a long time ago when Altered Miss Cork was happening, and it made it look very polished. These events tend to be, you know, put together by a lot of people on very low budgets, and I think that it made it look very polished and good, and that I'm delighted that happened, and it made me realise how important the alternative Miss Cork was, and alternative myths in pageants in general were to the drag community. Yeah, I suppose that what I got from it was community and how important community is, and how much, you know, sometimes we kind of like need community, and you know, yeah. So I think the Cork scene might kind of take something from that, drag community might take something from that and see it that it needs to be more like of a community as well, you know. But of course, also like, you know, have like competitions where they all want to like kill each other backstage.
Yes, yes, yes. Can't leave that out.
We don't want to lose that.
No,
we don't want to lose that side of it. I suppose the question is coming in. There's lots of questions coming in, and it's the question like where's the future of drag? This is the history here today, but where are we seeing the future of drag going in this ever-changing world? And maybe I put that question to you, Candy. Where's the future of drag going?
I think for the first time in my life, I also agree with Eddie. And I think we're at this really interesting crossroads. We're at this really interesting crossroads now where, looking at the clips there of Alternative Miss Ireland and Alternative Miss Cork, I remembered that's how I got into drag. Those were the things that I would have seen on social media or on TV and really excited me. That's true punk, queer, underground drag at its heart. And I think when Drag Race came out, obviously we've gotten a little bit mainstream, and I think we're at this exciting moment where I feel like those two worlds are starting to collide. And that's what I'm trying to do with Maquia here in Cork. But there's a lot more alternative nights starting to appear all around Ireland. And I think maybe is that a little rebuttal against the mainstream of Drag Race? Maybe a little bit. And I think it's completely okay to have two sides of drag. And I'm really excited now in the next couple of years to see where that's going to go.
Thank you, Kathy. So looking at, I'm going to bring you right back and maybe check in with Richard for there. Richard, this is the drag of the future. We're looking at social media. We're looking at new platforms. When you were working with Danny LaRue, and we're going back a number of decades, can you maybe just talk to us a little bit about what was the experience then and the immediacy for an audience in relation to that?
Could you repeat the last part of the question? I couldn't really hear.
So the question is, can you share with us probably maybe a special moment that you had, one of your most exciting moments that you can remember with Danny LaRue when you were working with him in the industry?
Well, oddly enough, one of my favorite moments was when he first returned to Ireland as a star. And of course, we came to the Opera House in Cork. And I can remember the enthusiasm from that audience was just fantastic. And it went on for a week. And everybody who came to the stage door said that they were a cousin or they were related in some way. And I'd say, well, Dan, there's so-and-so. So he said, oh, darling, just let them in and give them a drink. And that was it. And nobody was sober for the entire week.
I love it.
I don't think anyone's been sober for an entire 9 months, to be honest with you, at the moment. What's going on? So.
Oh, I don't know how we would have coped with this lot, I tell you.
I'm telling you.
I've been sober forever.
Thank you, Richard. And I suppose just looking at that, the costume changes and looking at even the big changes alone, they were phenomenal. It was constant changing, and it was your work in that space. It's an art in itself. So the question is, how many costume changes, wig changes had you in an evening?
Well, someone was mentioning on the documentary something about someone doing 3 or 5 changes. The London Palladium in 1978, we did 19 changes in every performance, and we did twice daily. So that was 38 changes of costume, wig, and God knows what else every single day.
Wow.
So I've done an awful lot. So if anyone wants now in my career working in the theatre in London, they say, oh, there's a quick change. They say, ask Richard, he'll know the way around it.
You worked together for a long time, and thank you for sharing that memory, that Cork memory for people as you came back to Cork in that time. Thank you, Richard.
Oh, well, I love that. And of course, I came back to Cork again when they did Hairspray, and I was able to help them do that, which again, of course, the lead was a drag part. So I had my brushes out and my back combing and this, that, and the other. So that's very much of Cork's memories for me.
We were just saying that we'll hope to welcome you to Cork next year. Unfortunately, we weren't able to have the exhibition, the full exhibition for Dragging Up the Past, which we were planning to have this year. We have a selection of it on the online at arts.mtu.ie. But next year, when we have the full exhibition and we're all together again, we look forward to welcoming you to Cork. That's
Yes,
a date.
that'll be great. And I'm hoping to bring that costume. I have the original Daniel LaRue Marlena costume and the coat.
Wow.
And obviously I've got plenty of wigs. So I'm hoping to get all that there for you as well.
That's great, Richard. And we really look forward to that and to welcoming you in hopefully the not so distant future.
Yes.
That's great. Thank you, Richard.
Okay.
Panti, can you hear us in Dublin 1?
Yes, loud and clear.
No noise interference?
No.
We're not that far away now, Sarah.
Hello.
Yeah.
Josie wanted to say that.
Now that she's over 50, I think she's got good hearing aids. They probably kick in at.
Be careful what you say. I may be over 50, but I still pack a punch.
There you go, Eddie. There you go. Panti, we just want to say that obviously AMI was a massive success in platforming drag in Ireland. Now, absolutely. Thinking of former contestants like Shirley Temple, you're looking at Catherine Lynch, Minnie Melange, when Sinead, aka Sinead Burke, and a real Candy Warhol, I believe. Also.
Well, I wasn't a winner now. I won't put me in that category, but yes, I was in the show.
It was involved also. But I just wanted to, the question is, do you ever envision it coming back again or being reimagined in some form?
No.
Good.
Well, because we did it for 21 years. It's a huge amount of work, as Eddie will know. It's so much work. And, when we started it, everybody who was involved was up for doing stuff and had, kind of half-hearted jobs, or maybe were even students and stuff. But 21 years later, Sarah, who was like the one who was poking contestants onto the stage every year, is the director of the National Gallery. And, Trish is working down at the Art College in Cork. And, people's lives have gone on and they don't have all that sort of time anymore. But also that kind of thing is a young person's game. And so every now and then maybe we'll be drunk and someone will suggest, oh, we should do one more. And then I'm always the one who says, no going backwards. But our expectation when we finished it was that, well, something else will come along. Some young go-getter queers will pop up and produce something else that will have the same energy of it. And something else will bubble up. But, for various reasons to do it, economic reasons, and I don't know, all sorts of things, that never really happened. But I still hold out hope that another gay Christmas event will come along. And also, people also forget that the Alternatives aren't started. It was a small, shitty little thing in a basement club. It grew into this big, giant thing. So, but it started small. So, maybe the new Alternatives Ireland is already out there as some tiny little event, and it's going to grow into something else. So I'm cheering on from the sidelines that, people who have more energy and more time and more creativity than this tired old queen, to do something else, and hopefully it'll turn into that. But also, I'll just quickly say that also some of the motivation that we had also disappeared, because it was in its essence an HIV and AIDS charity fundraiser, but it started at the time when everybody died from AIDS. And that has all changed in the meanwhile. And so the urgency for that particular thing is different. It's still urgent in different ways, but it's different. And then the other thing was that we were was about, we always did it around St. Patrick's Day, and that was very important to us and all that, because it was about expanding the definition of Irishness to sort of make it more elastic, to stretch around people like us. Because when we started, it felt at that time that you couldn't really be queer and dressing in drag and running around with your ass hanging out in a nightclub and still also be fully accepted as Irish. There was this weird thing. And so that was a big motivation behind the Alternative Miss Ireland. So a lot of the themes over the years were very Irish. It was to try and inject a bit of queerness into Irishness. But, in 2015, when we had the referendum and everything, that felt like a sort of, in a way, finished project. I don't think anyone questions now that you can be fully queer and be Irish. So in a way, that's not to say that everything's done. but that part of the project felt done, so it felt like a good time to be finishing up. So
and finishing on a high.
The question is
finishing on a high. And I think you said something interesting there, that it was very much a DIY culture at the time, a DIY culture. And there's something at the moment where everything has to be slick, shiny, and perfect before it's even out there.
Club culture and all of that changed very much when we had our boom. And even young gays, I used to give out about them back, during the boom. It became like everybody wanted to be drinking a Bacardi Breezer on a glass tabletop, and nobody wanted to be sweating dressed in a bin bag in some basement somewhere. And I'm all about the sweaty basement bin bag and not the Smirnoff Ice. And so that actually annoyed me for a while. I used to give out about it. But then, of course, things come in cycles, and our boom collapsed. And then you saw the reemergence of that sort of DIY, make and do, make your own fun, throw on your own events. The only thing, and Maquillage is a good example of that, but the only thing that's got in their way that we didn't have in our way was when we were doing those things in the early 90s and that, there were 1 million venues available to you because half the city was empty and abandoned. People were just desperate to take, for you to take their venue off their hands and do something with it. And they allowed you to do any old crazy shit as long as you were going to get people in the door. But that's all gone because in the boom, all of those venues were snapped up and turned into apartments or shiny big corporate bars or hotels or whatever. So there are fewer venues now for enthusiastic, energetic people to, throw on, make a show, to do a Judy Garland, Mickey Rourke on it, and put on a show. So that is a problem still that gets in the way of, young, creativity. But like Jurassic Park, life finds a way.
Let's watch the space. Thank you, Panti. Just Panti, a quick question. You wrote about some very cutting-edge performances in your book. That
I know what you're referring to there. Yes. Well, okay, go on.
Apparently, a woman in the making. So I'm just wondering, with your now status as national treasure, and gay activist known internationally, has that affected you? Has that affected your performance and the content and direction you travel?
To an extent, I got into drag because it was underground and transgressive and discombobulating and punk and fun, and it was a sort of a fuck you to convention and all of that. And so I never imagined that one day I'd be some sort of, on the cover of the RTE guide, middle class opening science fairs at Trinity type of person. I mean, that's not what I expected to happen. And so it is a weird place to be. I think it's an interesting idea that an Irish drag queen living with HIV and all, and who used to pull things out of her ass in the 1980s on stage, is able to become this. It says something great, I think, about Ireland.
Is it after the curfew? Can you say that?
But I don't do that anymore, Eddie. I'm too old for that. But it is an interesting thing about Ireland that even was able to happen. But does it affect now what I feel I can say and do? To an extent. I sort of made a very conscious decision that in my live shows, I would never think about it. And I would say or do what I wanted to do in my live shows, because I assume that in my live shows, the people who've come know what they're coming to, are interested, and they get my sense of humor and all of that. But in a more public field, yes, I have to be more careful. But it's not just for the reason you think. Partly, yes, because, I'm more presented to people who didn't ask for it in a way. But also because I found it, and actually Cork Opera House is an interesting one, because I've also discovered that when you become a sort of a symbol for something, people take what you say really to heart, and sometimes more seriously than you meant it. And I was reminded of that when Richard was talking there, when you mentioned the Cork Opera House, because I did my show in the Cork Opera House, a few years ago there at one point, and afterwards I got a letter from the Bisexual Society of Ireland, who were very upset with me because I made a joke about bisexuals during the show. Now, in my defense, in that part of the show, I was sort of purposely making stereotypical jokes about all sorts of sexuality, so I feel it's a little unfair. But more to the point is, you know, if some random drag queen in a bar had made the same joke, they wouldn't have been upset. But because it was Panti, who was a sort of some sort of symbol for them in a way, or you know, the equality warrior queen or whatever, made it hurt them more. You know, they felt hurt by it. I don't think they should have, to be honest, but still, it doesn't matter. They did. So in those situations, yes, I realize that now I do have to be slightly more careful about what I say, because people hear what I say differently than they used to when I was just a drunk, you know, drag queen, you know, with too many gins and half an ecstasy in the basement of some nightclub in 1989.
That the Q&A is hopping. I'm sure the Q&A is hopping, and I'm going to pass over to Aoife for that. But just before I come in, it's just interesting to note that people who were involved with AMI, like our own Trish Brennan, that they actually all went on to very successful careers.
Yes, many of them have very successful careers, and Trish Brennan is down there in Cork, you know, whatever, whacking the art students into shape down there, and good for them. They're lucky. They should be lucky. You know, I hope they know how lucky they are to have Trish Brennan, you know, looking over their shoulders.
Thank you, Panti.
I know Trish is watching this at the moment, so hi, Trish.
Hi, Trish. Virtual Center. So I'm going to pop in Aoife. How was the Q&A going? Thank you, Panti. I'm sure that
it's absolutely flying, but I'm enjoying listening to everything that's going on as well. So I'm juggling here, but it's fantastic to hear the feedback. Candy, we have a few questions in for you. Isabel was asking and was interested in your influence, and particularly your experience at art school. Did that influence your drag personas and how you?
100%. I think just before the year before I started in art college, I was already working in Instinct, which was a gay bar in Cork. So I was starting to see drag for the first time since I had seen Danny LaRue. But in college, I think that's what really pushed me to explore my style and my performance art. We did a performance art course, and that's really how I got over my fears of getting on stage. And I spoke in the documentary about creating these different characters, and what I was doing was recreating different Andy Warhol short films, and a lot of the characters that I was doing were female based, because obviously that's what I was really attracted to. And my tutors pushed me to, you know, explore a GAA player, explore, you know, an avant-garde monster, and I think that really influenced what I was bringing to the stage at the time, which was this, as you saw in the AMI clips, this scary you know, messy haired freak kind of drag queen. So yeah, definitely art college.
Who haven't explored a GAA player?
Well, thank you, my love. Yes. So yeah, our college played a big part in my drag, and in a way I'm really happy that I started drag just that 1 or 2 years before Drag Race kind of hit Ireland, because I kind of went into it with a different mentality.
And Candy, people are wondering, how can they support drag queens during COVID?
You know what? I get asked that a lot, and it's so important because
by buying their old wigs.
Yes, thank you. Please send me wigs. Richard, I know you have some of Danny's wigs. Please post them over. But you know what? I think the scary thing that we saw was, and I'm sure Panti can attest to this as well, overnight our income vanished. Overnight our shows went, our audiences went, and that was really scary. You know, I had just moved to London and had all these gigs lined up, and I was filming my show, and for the first time in 10 years I felt comfortable, and that was taken away overnight. So I think, and you know, on a positive side, the great thing is queens and queers are very resourceful people, and overnight you saw people like Panti and Bonnie doing online content. You saw online digital shows appear. You saw queens doing podcasts. You saw us being resourceful, but we still need help. And I think when those shows come back, you have to be there. And someone made a really great point in that documentary.
I think the arts in general need
help. Yeah, that's why again, you know, yeah, and again, you know, the likes of MTU funding this documentary is brilliant. But again, somebody said in that documentary, oh, there's nothing happening in my city. Bollocks. In Cork and Dublin, there's a lot happening. Get off your couch, stop complaining, and go support it.
So there mightn't be any projects in the pipeline at the moment. Would that be right? But yeah.
Sure. So I've a Friends of Dorothy podcast that I run with Kiki St. Clair, who's a brilliant Galway drag queen, and we're launching our season 2 at the end of this month. Dragony Ants, the show I have with Comedy Central, we were supposed to film the season 3, but we're doing that now as a podcast as well, and that's running too. And as soon as the venues are open, I just can't wait to get back on stage with my drag family, Mawbey. You know, we filmed a really exciting documentary that's going to be coming out on RTE, and we filmed that this week last year, and that was our last show, which is really scary. So I can't wait to be back. And Fabula and Kitty, if you're listening, you have an open invitation to join the show. And Letycha and Mia, your P45 is in the post.
And there's a question actually from Trish. She's asking, the impact of all the isolation, should we expect serious debauchery, swinging 20s post-COVID-19?
I mean, I think that question goes out to all of us, but I mean, I feel like I've gone through my debauchery mental crazy queen phase. I'm trying to be a little bit put together, but you know what? I think after this year, it's going to be very exciting to see performances on stage. Don't you all think? It's going to be exciting to see how drag performers take to the stage after this year. I think there's going to be a lot more exciting content and exciting performances for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you, Candy. And Panti, there's a question about the representation that has gone before. Sure. Well, for baby queens and kings coming out, is there a fear that people will forget what has gone before? Do you think that people are passing on the knowledge, passing on the history?
You know, it's a funny one. I'll try and not bang on too long here, but it's one of those funny things. You know, when people of my generation were coming to drag, there was no drag on the TV and there was no internet. So everything you learned about it, every tiny little trick and, you know, tricks of the trade and everything, you had to learn from an older queen. There was no other way to learn it. And when and Kitty, you guys, Kitty coming in, but as soon as I mentioned older queen, and even things like, you know, finding shoes and wigs and all. Wigs were so expensive, and shoes in my size are impossible to get. You know, when I first did my first drag performance, I made my own shoes because I literally couldn't find shoes to fit me or whatever. So it was an entirely different world. And so nowadays, a lot of that stuff has been made so much easier and in a way sort of given to you. So before you ever step out of your front door and drag for the first time, you can learn all the tricks of the trade from YouTube. You can watch all of the drag tutorial makeup videos. You can buy a decent wig for a very small amount of money relatively online, and they'll send it to you from China. You can then watch online tutorials about how to style that wig into something, you know, so that when you first step out of your door and your very first time drag, you look pretty okay. Whereas, you know, I looked like an absolute horror for 15 years, you know, until older queens had given me little tricks and things and just trial and error, and you learn all that. So it is an entirely different world now to be coming out into it as a young drag queen. But of course, it's also more popular and more mainstream than it ever was either. So choosing to be a drag queen as a life choice is never going to be easy. You have to fight for every penny. You have to make your own, you know, opportunities, and no one's going to swan in and give you a gig. You have to fight tooth and nail for that gig. You have to learn how to do your makeup, learn how to do your hair, learn how to perform, all of those things. It's never going to be an easy choice, but it's a fucking fun way to make a living. And if you can make a living, if you are, you know, bullheaded enough to keep at it until you manage to make enough money to pay your rent, you're going to be working as a waiter and all that stuff along the side for quite a while, because you're not going to make that money in the beginning. But if you are bullheaded enough and talented enough and have enough energy enough to keep at it, you will eventually make a living out of it. And it's a super fun way to make a living, but it's not an easy way to make a living.
Amen.
Because
and the pandemic in some way has really underlined all of that. It feels like, you know, we were very disposable. We were just tossed overboard while the Titanic kept going.
Yeah.
And we're going to be the last thing to come back. And because we are this kind of weird art form that it still, even though it's less underground than it used to be, it still has its roots in the underground. We don't have the sort of some of the supports that some of the other more respected arts do and so on. So in a way, the pandemic has only underlined me. But if some young queen is out there thinking, God, that seems like fun and I'd like to do that, my attitude is go for it.
Yeah.
Don't expect that it's going to pay your rent and you're going to be a drag queen for the rest of your life, because it may happen, but it may not. But do it because it's fun. It's it's thrilling. It teaches you something about life. It's never going to teach you what it feels like to be a woman, but it'll teach you something about what a woman is expected to go through to look like a good, pretty woman. So it's a life experience, and I think everybody should do it at least once. Like, I think every straight man, everybody should do it at least once. And I don't mean, half-hearted 2 balloons for boobs, rugby night out. I mean, do it properly. Shave your legs, wear the corset, wear the high heels, try and walk properly. Everybody should do it just once, because it'll alter your view of the world in a way that makes you more empathetic with people who aren't exactly the same as you.
Mm-hmm.
Super.
Thank you.
Here I shall be.
Yes, you
Microphone drop.
Real deal.
I think we might have room for
And pause.
And thank you, Panti. And if you might maybe line up one final question for us. Eddie, I could see you wanted to come in there. You've been working in the live industry for a long time now. So what is the future? It's a very worrying time in the art space for performers, for sound engineers, lighting designers. Literally overnight, the venues have closed, and we have no certainty for the future. So these are worrying times.
I would think, of course, there are worrying times, but I suppose why I kind of stepped in there is because I think drag artists, like Rory was talking about doing drag, and whether drag just be something you step on, you engage with one time, or something that you consider to be a career. And drag is something that you can basically, it's entertaining, it's visual, it's, you become a character. So visually online and for live streams, drag is something I think that has more, probably more, it'll be more able to have a time online with streaming that it will be more able. Anyway, I'm just trying to get myself back here. So basically, it's visual. The majority of drag artists that I know that have been doing this for a long time are performers, almost comedians. So I think that it has more of an option of sustaining itself in a streaming culture, where as a DJ myself, I find it very difficult to do a live stream, because who wants to look at a middle-aged man playing with his 12 inches in his bedroom? You know what I mean? I mean, it's kind of,
Sorry, are you talking about me or are you?
I'm talking about, well, I don't know.
Talking about himself.
I don't know how much you can talk, babes. But the thing is, it's one of the art forms I think that will come across better if this pandemic kind of takes control of our arts culture. I think drag is something that will.
I see what Eddie's saying, and I agree.
Sorry,
drag has some, drag has some opportunities in an online world, because it is visual and it's use a lot of humor and all of that stuff, which some other art forms doesn't translate so well online. But I would say that there's a limit to that, because no matter how much drag you do on Instagram and all of that, it is still at its heart a live performance art. And it doesn't matter how well, Candy mentioned that myself and Bunny were doing the silly stuff, at the beginning of the pandemic online. And we were, because it was just something to do and we were having fun with it. And I was learning how to, edit green screen videos and stuff. But there's a limit to it because we're performing in our bloody living room. And there's no energy from a live audience to feed back off.
Yes.
There's no, and at the end you're finished and there's nobody to cheer for you. And that's what we live for, us live performers. It's the fucking cheer at the end. So
Exactly.
I agree with that. Drag has some advantages, and we can go into podcasting and doing videos and live streams, and there is something for us, and that has managed to help us survive the last year. But there is a limit to that. Because at its core, drag is a performance art. It's a live performance art. And it needs an audience that you can hear and smell and sweat and touch and spit at if you need to. That's what drag is at its core. So thank God we have these elements that we're able to translate into streaming and online shows and stuff during the pandemic, because that helped us to survive. Yeah. But that has a limit, and until we can get back into a sweaty, smelly, club, we ain't really living. We're just surviving.
It's a very bizarre feeling.
Don't trust Eddie. Anybody who hangs around with drag queens all of their lives but never actually does drag, you need to be suspicious of. What is the problem, Eddie?
Eddie,
But you do need those audiences to get feel the love.
Send him a wig, Richard. Send him a wig. Send him a wig.
Well,
Richard.
I think that Rory, like.
Don't tempt me.
I think that Rory pretty much
Send
summed
him a
up
real
what
shitty one.
I was trying to say. It is 100% an audience participation. You do feed off that, and like a friend of mine, anyway. An artist, her name is Roisin Murphy, did like an amazing online.
A friend of yours, Roisin.
Little Roisin Murphy from the town just over. Yes, I've heard of her.
Online gig, which like I found like she managed to kind of get the essence of an actual gig band at a venue where you were at, and even still, it's so hard to capture that.
I watched the Roisin gig too. It was spectacular, fabulous, and I loved it. But would I have paid a hell of a lot more to see that same gig in a special room with thousands of other people? Yes, I would.
That's exactly my whole point. And we do feed off that. We need that interaction with people. That's why we've done it from day one. And that's why, we feed off that energy, that smell. That's that excitement of going, fuck, I'm shitting myself before I go on here.
I can super glue on these earrings onto my actual skin earlobes just so you can see it on a screen.
Yeah, what was the original question?
It's a very bizarre feeling at the end of a digital show to close your laptop and be sat in a living room in full drag and no one's there.
And there's something, I don't even have the energy then to take the drag off. There's something so spiriting about it. So I end up sitting there looking like a crazy person in my own home for an hour and a half. Just the wig is gone, but everything else is sitting there, and I'm eating like a sandwich or something.
Yeah,
because I just you don't have the
and you have no bouncer saying the venue's closing in 10 minutes. Get out.
At least you've got wigs and makeup. How the fuck do you think I feel? I don't even take anything off. I still feel fucking like mental weird.
But you've had that same body and face for 40-something years. You should be used to it right now. I look amazing, Eddie.
Yes, you do.
I'll give you that, chicken. I'll give you that.
Should I still be in drag?
Sweet. I just want to say.
Put Fabula back up.
No, I'm so sorry. She's been arrested. Bye.
Crimes against humanity.
Richard, I'm so sorry you had to see this.
I'm so sorry, Richard.
You're coming from London and you had to see this. I'm so sorry. My apologies.
Yeah, this is Danny's legacy in its full glory. All of us.
I think it's absolutely wonderful. I think he'd be thrilled.
I hope so.
And the two of you, that you look wonderful.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely wonderful.
You're talking to Eddie and Candy, are you?
No, I'm talking to Miss Pink and Miss Yellow.
Yeah, thank you.
That's so lovely. I think the final feeling that we're getting from this is that, look, the online has kept us going, and for sure that there's valuable aspects to the online world, but we need audiences, we need human connection, and we need to feed off that energy, and that's part of why we're involved in these areas, but why drag queens, why the drag shows need to go on. I think it's maybe we're coming to the end of our session. We're looking for a world exclusive announcement. Obviously, if anybody wants to make any world exclusive announcement, now is your chance. I'm
trained and I'm going to be an accountant.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you, Panti, for sharing that with us. But I was going to extend an invitation to you to come to the Munster Technological University. Talked a little bit to Candy about this, for Richard, Panti, Eddie, and for everybody here, that we're going to have a party. It's a date, time, date, venue, 2BC. Hello, Robin. Does everybody want to put on their camera? Maybe, and we might just extend that out to everybody, to Mia. Wonderful. And that we're all going to meet again. We're going to launch the exhibition. Richard coming from London, Panti from Dublin, all of us from the rest of our exclusive locations in various secret spots around the world, coming together to Cork. So
Can I ask a question before we leave?
Sure.
The question is, at the beginning of the movie, near the beginning of the movie, there's this clip from an old alternative Miss Cork, where I am being a bit mean to a contestant who's very upset about the strobe and the smoke.
Oh yeah, brilliant. That was so good.
Who was that? I don't remember that.
That was
Kelly Clitt.
Kelly Clitt. She runs a sauna now.
Not
she's come up. She's come up in the world.
Not Eddie Clitt.
Well, now I like her even more. Okay, that's all I needed to know.
Thank you, Panti. And I know I was speaking with Robin earlier, and he said, what has made the documentary tonight, that there's so much that he's left. I don't want to take your words, Robin, but you might like to say that there's so much left, there's so much more left to say, and so much that didn't make the cut. But this story needs to go on. Absolutely. So on that, I just wanted to say thank you all so much this evening. We've had an absolutely wonderful time. Conrad Im, you can't see him. I don't know if we're going to be able to spot him, but he has been such a tour de force behind this, such a wonderful person, and working with Robin on this to create this. I just really want to give them a lot of love.
Yeah.
Yes.
A lot of love.
Congratulations on the film.
Congratulations, everyone. It was just fantastic.
And to all our queens and all our guests, we just want to thank you so much for giving your time today, giving your time to the project and supporting it. There's a few thank yous, just the background team in this virtual world where we see nobody, only ourselves, and I just wanted to give a shout out to Adrian in Societies, to Kevin and Sharon in the arts office, to Conrad, obviously, who's in the background. We've been sweating a lot, hoping the technology wouldn't fail and our sounds wouldn't drop. How do we do? Do we
you
make
did well,
it?
Sarah. Good.
No
dogs barking.
So, and as well, just a shout out for the MTU resident technical guru, Mr. Philip O'Reilly, who looks after so many of these events. And thank you so much, Philip, for giving up, for bringing this directly from your home. Anyway, if you haven't seen it yet, go over to arts.mtu.ie to check out the virtual online exhibition for Dragging Up the Past. But as you're watching it, know in your hearts, we will be together again. In real world, in real life, at a time to be decided and a date unknown. I think that should be fair enough with that. And then, what have I left to say? Only
thank you as well.
Thank you, Sarah.
Yeah,
Thank you for
thank you,
doing this
Sarah.
tonight.
Thank you
Thank
for,
you,
for
Eddie.
not taking your medication tonight and being
Yes.
hyper than you usually are. Well done.
Yes. And
Thank you.
the hair straightener went well, Sarah. I'm glad to
Awesome. This is actually a wig, and I really want to thank Richard for sending it.
Fools
It was-
me.
I'm so glad that it arrived in time, and I hope it looks so natural.
One of Danny's best, actually. Yes. Yes, I
Thank you.
recognize it now. Yes.
No, you wouldn't have ever worn anything so flat.
I was trying to give her a moment, Richard.
Richard, it's quite clear we need you. We need you over here. I'm just going to ask Aoife Kelleher to come back online. She's the society's officer here, and under her guidance, nurturing the LGBT society has flourished. They have, they have grown so much. And I just want to give a special shout out for Aoife this evening, because she plays such a key role in this and for supporting everyone with it. So thank you, Aoife.
Thanks,
Right.
Sarah.
I want to do a special shout for that. I'd love if we could bring Conrad on, but I don't know how we can do that. That's it, guys. Just wanted to say Arts Office is super proud to have got an application form. And the application form said something like this. We want to make a documentary. It's called Dragging Up the Past. It's about drag, ... It's going to be amazing.
And it was.
And we took a punch on it, and we're so delighted that we did. Okay, so thank you to everybody. I don't know if we're going out on music or what, but what we are.
Thanks, everyone.
Yes,
Thank you,
Well done, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Just going to say thank you to Richard, thank you to Panti, Eddie, Candy, Mia, Robin, Fabula, Letycha, Mia, everybody. And we're going to play you out now with a piece that was recorded for Candy Warhol's Nokia lockdown event, Dragon Blazers, which was held last May, is it, Candy? All right, last May.
Yes.
And it's a fabulous performance by Letycha Lesin. So go into your sitting rooms, take off your wig, and have a magnificent evening.
Brilliant.
Thanks,
Thank you very
everyone.
much. Well done, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye, Richard.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.